Christina. So today this video will be about how I maintained good grades throughout college. So in college, I got good, pretty good grades. I ended my college career with about a 3.69, and I was right there, close to a 3.7, but I did mess up a couple times, which kind of altered that. So I think I do have enough insight on some things that I did to maintain a higher GPA, and trust me, I made my mistakes, and that's why I want to tell you guys everything I did right and did wrong so you guys don't make the same mistakes. So let's just get into the video. So the first thing that helped me get a really good GPA throughout college is realizing that every point counts. And what I mean by this is it's easy to count off the little 1 point bonus point assignments or the little 5 point daily, whatever the case may be. It's easy to think that those don't matter, and it's easy to just ignore them or slack off on them. That's gonna come back to you. That's gonna come back and haunt you, because what I learned is classes where I was borderline a B plus, A minus, those little points made the biggest difference. And I realized that I would end a class with a 93 because I turned in every little assignment. If my teacher was doing extra credit assignments, I would do it. No matter if it was worth 1 or 5 points, I was doing that bonus point assignment. So guys, trust me. It might seem like, oh, whatever, that doesn't matter in the moment, but it makes a large difference in the end, and every point matters. So that's the first thing, is every point matters. Don't think that just because it's 1 point, it doesn't matter. Don't think that just because you have something due that is like 3 points that you don't have to do it. Do that assignment and turn it in, because trust me, it will come back to haunt you. So that's the first one. The second one is starting off strong. We all know at the beginning of the semester, that is when you have the most energy. That's when you're the most motivated to do your work. That's when you need to apply the most pressure, because you know when May starts coming around, you're done. You're clocked out mentally. You don't even want to even look at your textbook. You don't even want to look at the assignments. So my advice to you is use that beginning where you have the stamina, where you have the motivation to do your best work, is use that to do your best work. Use that time to grind, to stay on top of it, to get ahead of the game, so that later in the semester, you're not at your highest potential. When you're starting to slack off a little bit, you have that wiggle room to slack off without it affecting your grades. Yeah, it might go down a little bit, but if you have a 95 in a class, you can afford to get a B or even a C on an assignment because you don't feel like putting your best foot forward. And I'm not even saying to just slack off at the end, but I'm saying you have that cushion. The cushion is what matters. If you have a little cushion by the end, you don't have to stress yourself out with trying to catch up. If you're at the end and you have like a C or a B or whatever, and you want that A, you're gonna have to try and push so much harder to get that A than you would have to do to maintain the A. So that's what I'm saying. Try to work hard at the beginning so you just have to maintain it at the end, instead of having to work extra hard at the end to get it to an A. That's my advice. Number 3 is get to know your professor. And guys, I can't stress this one enough. This alone has gotten me A's in so many classes I should have gotten a C in. No exaggeration, no exaggeration. I remember in my stats class, I earned a C in that class, but guess what showed up on my report card because I was really cool with that professor? An A. An A. Like, guys, I promise you, not all professors are cool like that. Not all are lenient, but build that rapport early on. The first week of class, when it's syllabus day, syllabus week, whatever, sit in the front. After class, go up to your professor and just introduce yourself, and then attend office hours. They eat that stuff up. They love it when a good student attends office hours because it shows you are trying. Even if you think it's an easy class or whatever, go at least once. Go once just to establish that relationship with your professor, and I promise you, they will look out for you. They will vouch for you if they see that you're putting that effort in to do well in their class. 9 times out of 10, this works. The next one is make a group chat with everybody in your class. And I hope this is self-explanatory and I don't have to say this one, but I had to initiate this in a lot of my classes. I had to be the one to be like, hey guys, what's your group me name? That was me, because I knew if it was a class like accounting or anything like that, I knew I was gonna need them at some point, and they might need me. Like, it's definitely a mutual thing. Make that group chat. If no one else made it, make it. And if someone made it and you're not in it, join it, because you're gonna need it. The next one is set a designated day to do all your work. And I don't mean all your work. I just mean set a day or a time or whatever, or a certain window of time, and say, I'm gonna sit down and grind it out. Because I noticed that when I did this, it made my whole week so much easier because I knocked out my whole assignments for the week. And you don't have to do the extreme like I did. I promise you don't. But I promise, like every Sunday, or I think what day I think every Friday, I would sit down and I would just do it. And so during the next week, you can either get started on the next week homework, or if you're just burnt out from doing all the homework, just chill, because you did it. You knocked it out. So you have really nothing to do. So that's what I did. And this just helped me stay ahead of the game. And it helped me also, like, if I needed a break, and I could just easily take one without being more stressed because I already did my work. So that's the next step, is setting a day or a time or a window, like a weekend, just one weekend, to knock everything out so you don't have to always worry about upcoming assignments. The next one is also self-explanatory, but I feel like I should just say it because some people don't do it. And this one is go to class. Go to class. And I know what you're thinking. If you have an 8 a.m., those are the worst. I hated I hated 8 a.m.s. Hated them. But this is the thing. That is where people slip up. They think, oh, I'm tired. I'll just miss this one class. They miss that class. They're a whole lecture behind. They never catch up again. They miss it thinking, I'll just catch up. And guess what? They're always behind because they don't know the lesson and they never go back to learn it again. So whatever they didn't know, they just forgot about it. And sometimes that even makes you even more behind going forward. So my advice, don't even get in the habit of missing class. Yes, sometimes you get tired. Sometimes things happen. I'm not saying like if you're sick, go to class. Like obviously no. Hopefully you have an understanding professor. But all I'm saying is if you do miss a class, make sure you stay on top of what you miss. Don't make it a habit of missing class and not going back, not learning the material. And because this is just gonna accumulate and make everything worse and worse. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. Try not to miss class, but if you do, make sure you have the material that you need to catch up. That's all I'm saying on that one. The next one is ask for help. If you're in class and the professor is going at lightning speed, you don't know what they're talking about, you don't know what's going on, you don't have to, if you're scared, this is me. Sometimes I was a little intimidated to raise my hand because it seemed like everyone else knew what was happening. So I was like, maybe I'm just the slow one here. But if you're like that, I would just suggest before or after class, talking to the professor and be like, hi, I kind of didn't understand this. Can you explain this to me? Or even email them. Be like, hi, in class, you kind of mentioned this and I didn't quite catch it. Do you mind hopping on Zoom and meeting with me sometime or anything like that? Or go to their office hours. I promise you, I can't speak for your situation, but what I realize is I would only fall behind if I let myself fall behind. So if you really don't understand a concept that was taught to you, make it a point to ask your professor for help, or the TA, or even someone else in your class who you met. You know, like there's so many people that want to help you. It's not like you're hurting anyone or you're bothering anyone by reaching out for help. So make sure you reach out for help. This one is kind of controversial, so take this with a grain of salt. But one thing that I did in college that really helped me keep my grades up was I did what was expected of me and nothing more. And that might sound like I'm lazy, but just hear me out. So what I found is a lot of teachers, you just have to see what they expect from you. Because some teachers, yeah, they want the crystal, they want the whole nine, the perfect essay, no typos, no nothing. But other teachers, if they're lenient, they might let you slide with a little of not putting your best foot forward. And I'm not telling you to not do your best work. But what I am telling you is don't work harder than you have to. And what I mean is, like, sometimes that teacher that's cool and lenient, you can get an A in their class by just doing the research and turning it in. Some, you need to have the citations, the this, the that. And you can always gauge this at the beginning during syllabus week when they tell you their expectations. And definitely, so this is what I do. The first assignment for every class I did, I would always, everyone's bare minimum is different, so maybe I can only speak for myself, but I would low-key do like the most basic writing I did, or I could do, or do the most simplistic concepts or whatever it was. And I would see what grade I would receive on that one assignment. And if I got an A and I feel like I put little to no effort in that, I knew that I could easily get an A by doing the bare minimum. However, if I did not get a satisfactory grade, like I got a C or a D, I was like, oh, okay, this is a class I need to step it up. So then I would act accordingly. I would just say gauge how your teacher grades, because that makes a huge difference. And this ties into my last point, is don't do less than what is expected. If your teacher tells you 12-point font, Roman numerals, 5-page paper, you can't expect to get an A on the assignment if you're turning in 13-point font, 4-page paper. It has to align. Like, you have to just follow instructions. And I know that sounds so obvious, but trust me, the amount of times I would be proofreading people's in my class paper and they didn't even follow the instructions for the paper and they wondered why they got a D on it is crazy. Literally just read and make sure you know what the assignment is asking you for. And if you don't know what it's asking you, make sure you clarify that with your teacher, because clarifying that will make it so much easier for you to get the best grade on it. The next one is turn everything in on time. And this kind of goes into the whole idea of every point counts, but it's kind of different because it depends on the professor. Some professors are more lenient than others, but turning that assignment in even a day late can be detrimental to your overall grade in the class, and we don't want that. So whatever you do, when you first have your assignments on Canvas or whatever, put it in a calendar. I put mine in this app on my MacBook called, I think it was called My Homework. And I would, the first week of school, in every semester, I would take one day and look at my syllabus, and I would put in every deadline in my calendar app or my homework app or whatever, so that I knew when everything was due. And you need to have it written either on an actual physical calendar or in a MacBook calendar or something, because you don't want to miss a deadline. So really writing things down and having it in front of you can make sure that you stay on target for every deadline that you have. Because the last thing you want is for you to realize at 10-11 p.m. that you have an assignment due at 11:59 and it's kind of over for you unless you just turn in whatever. So I would definitely say have a calendar, have something that you look at that can tell you when you have what due. Another tip, I don't even know what number I'm on right now, but I'm just giving tips. But anyway, another piece of advice is ask your teacher if they'll look over your homework before you turn it in. And I did this so many times. I had an English teacher once, and I would write my paper, and then during office hours, I would go to her office and I'd be like, hi, can you read my paper just to see if it needs any tweaking? And sometimes some teachers put this in their syllabus that they don't do that, but just see if they do. Some, my professors, a lot of them did that. So after I wrote the paper and everything, I would let her read it, and she would proofread it in front of me and fix it, and then I would make those changes and I would get an A every time. I would just get an A on it because she already read it and she'd already told me what needed to be fixed in it. So definitely do that. If you have teachers that allow you to, let them see your work before you even submit it, because that will guarantee you, most times that will guarantee you an A. I'm not even kidding. It's that easy. So the next piece of advice that I have is prioritize. And this is something that is very important because it is easy to fall behind and it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the assignments that you have to do at one time. This is what I did. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you procrastinate and you have a test on Tuesday, then you have a test on Wednesday, then a test on Thursday. And it's oh my gosh, how did I get to this point? How did I get so overwhelmed where I have all this stuff due so soon? And this is what you do. You prioritize. You need to, focus on the most important and pressing matter. If you have a paper due at Tuesday, but you have a test on Wednesday and a test on Thursday, let's start on Tuesday, because that's coming up. And also it doesn't matter the point system. If you have maybe a medium-sized assignment due on Tuesday, maybe you would want to start on the test that's worth 50% of your grade on Wednesday. But most times, if it's equal points and all that kind of stuff, just start on Tuesday. So let's say it's Tuesday, you have a test or a paper. So Tuesday you have a paper. On Monday, I'm finishing that paper. And once I finish that paper, if I finish it when I finish it by the deadline, then I start studying for the test on Wednesday, and then I start studying for the one on Thursday. Do it in order. And I know that's terrible. Like, you're cramming either way you're doing it last minute. But for me personally, that helped me because it kept my mind at ease, just doing things in order and making sure I knocked out everything the way it needed to be knocked out. And then that's a lesson learned. So I mean, I let this happen to me a couple times in college because, you know, things happen. I'm not perfect. I definitely have my times where it's like, you know, I have to cram and do things last minute. But learning process, you're not going to be perfect at first with everything, but you will learn over time. And college is a learning process, and you're gonna make mistakes. You might miss a class. You might turn in an assignment late, but it will all work out. So even though I did have a pretty good GPA in college, it could have been better if I definitely did more of these steps. Like, I remember the reason why I got a B instead of an A. Okay, this is a funny story. So I remember my freshman year of college, my first semester, I had all A's and I had a B plus on my report card. And the only thing that stood in the way between me getting a B plus versus an A is if I turned in a 2-point assignment the week prior that would have bumped me up to an A. And guess what? I cried, and that's so dramatic. That's so dramatic that I cried about that because I wanted all A's. I wanted to see in a report card that said A, but it said A, and B plus. And at that time, I was just so caught up in it that I cried. So that just shows you, like, literally everything matters. It's not, don't freak yourself out about it. Like, it is what it is. If you're not that, like, if you don't care too much about being a straight A student, don't stress yourself out about it. But I'm just telling you what helped me keep majority of A's. So, but yeah, don't let it stress you out too much. It will work out. At the end of the day, GPAs, while it does matter if you want to go to law school or med school or grad school, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that serious. But these are just some tips if you do want to just get off on a good foot and get a good GPA. So I hope those tips helped you guys, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.